Hey students, welcome to World History 2 here at Mid-America College. My name is Dr. Zachary Sandiford and I'll be your instructor for this course this spring semester of 2025. And I'm so happy that you're in the course and I want to welcome you to it. And the purpose of this video is to first introduce myself to you and welcome you to the course, but also to go over the syllabus. When I was a bachelor student at the State University of New York, I was a history major and I had to take a Russian history course, and it was just simply titled The History of Russia. And when we went to the very first day of class, the professor handed the syllabus out, got behind the lectern, and immediately began teaching. And he did not go over the syllabus with us, and so we were kind of left there as students like, oh, what do we have to do? What is our requirements? And so I just wanted to make sure that I go over the syllabus with you in detail to ensure you know what you have to do for this class. So we are now going to transition into a recording of the syllabus, and I'll go through it with you. So stay tuned for the syllabus here as I go through it. Okay, class, we're now going to take a look at the syllabus for World History 2, and you see the course number, WH4962, Spring 2025, which the semester dates are January 21st of 25 to May 14th. Of 25. You see my contact information there on the left, Dr. Zachary Sandiford, and the school's mailing address, 2095 Appling Road, Cordova, Tennessee, 38016. And my cell phone number is 901-220-6931, and my email address is zsandiford@mabts.edu. And you can contact me via email. That is going to be the primary way that we contact one another. Make sure you are using your school email address. There has been some issues with students being able to get emails through the Canvas. So make sure you're going directly through your school email address. That will be the main way we will communicate. If you need to get in contact with me, you can call by phone or texting. Definitely, I would encourage texting if you need to do that through the phone, because I can answer the text quickly. I have the phone on me all the time because I work here, Director of Operations and Security, so my phone is always here with me. And you can text me. Just make sure that whenever you do a text that you say who you are and what class you're in, because otherwise I'm not going to know who you are or what you're talking about. So make sure you identify yourself in the text. So there's the contact information. In class students, they're meeting residentially Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 8 to 8:50 a.m. But for you online, you just need to log in 3 times per week in Canvas. All right, so here's our course description and rationale. This course will study the significant developments of the world from the 15th century to the present day. It will investigate world civilizations, their origins, cultures, governments, tenures, religions, and contributions. The instructor has designed the assignments, lectures, and class discussions to provide a foundation for understanding major events, eras, and persons during the corresponding time period. So that's our description. You can see your course objectives here. You can read down through these. Hopefully on the other end of this course, at the end of the semester, you'll be able to do these things. Professor availability. Usually the instructor is available to meet with students immediately after class, but because you're online students, you need to basically just contact me via email, texting, or phone. But the main method of communication is through the student email account, as I have already mentioned. Very important. I don't want anyone missing out on any kind of emails going out and you sending me emails. Make sure everything is through your student email account. Okay, so required texts, assignments, and exams. All right, so first off, we're going to be looking at the textbook here. We have number 1, required reading, and this is 10% of your final grade. The student is required to obtain a copy of the following text and have it on hand during class. An electronic version of the text is acceptable. And the textbook is Traditions and Encounters, A Global Perspective on the Past, Volume 2, from 1500 to the present, 6th edition, by Jerry H. Bentley and Herbert F. Ziegler. Now, this is the second volume of the first volume that we used for World History 1, and so we just continue on with the same book, but it's volume 2, so make sure you have that. There is a reading schedule that you're required to read, and that's listed below in the course schedule. But the student is required to complete all of the assigned readings listed in the daily reading assignments, and the student will report the amount of reading on or at the final exam. Online students will report via email at the end of the semester, which is going to be by May 14th of 25. So make sure you write these dates down in your planner and your phone or whatever you're doing to keep track of your time. These dates are very important, and I don't want anyone to get some sort of a late penalty because they went past the date. Put the date down, highlight it in yellow, do whatever you need to do, but make sure you have things turned in on time. So May 14th of 25, you will email me your reading grade. It's honor system, so if you read 95% of the reading, you just say, I have read 95% of the reading, and that's what your grade will be. And if you read 50% of the reading and you say 50%, then you'll get a 50, and that's what your grade will be. So I would thank you for being honest, but make sure you keep up on the reading and follow that schedule. Number 2 is the required research paper, which is 30% of the final grade. Now here I need to pause for a second because I need to talk about the research paper. We're not just going to read through this. I'm going to explain some things out to you. First off, make sure you take this research paper seriously. This is 30% of your final grade, and this is your, if you want to look at it like your major project, this is a 10-page research paper that you will write. And this is going to be showing me your investment and your research habits and your interaction with sources and your writing ability and how you bring everything together to support a thesis that you come up with. This is a big deal. Do not put this off to the last minute. Do not try to do something else. Do not be late and make excuses. What you need to do is do this major project and turn it in on time, and you will be completely fine. So let's move down through here and see what you have to do. The paper is to be 10 complete pages of typed text. What that means is from page 1 to page 10 is full of text. So if page 10 has 2 sentences on it, that's not 10 complete pages. The works cited page is not part of those 10 pages. That will be page 11. It's going to be 10 full pages of text. The paper will be on an approved person or topic or event related to the course content, which you're going to submit to me, and I will approve it or deny it. The only time I ever deny topics is if it's before World History 2 time period, like which is it begins at the Renaissance. So if you pick something like ancient Greece, I'm going to deny that because that's centuries before World History 2 scope of years. Also, another reason for being denied a topic is if it's too broad. You can't write a 10-page paper on World War II. It's just too big. You would have to narrow it down to a leader, a battle, some sort of an event that takes place. You want to have a narrow topic for a 10-page paper. You can't write a 10-page paper on some huge topic. So I will guide you through that. If you give me a topic that's too broad, I'll try to help you narrow it down. So make sure you understand that. The paper will not be simply a summary or review of an event or person. The student will show an evaluation of and provide an analysis of the chosen topic. So here's my example. In other words, you will not simply write about Winston Churchill. You will discuss whether he was a good leader, prime minister, etc. If you write on a major historical event, you'll discuss its significance in history, both immediate and then also long term. So again, let's say you write on Winston Churchill, you don't write a biography. Don't just tell me about his life and call it a day, and there's a 10-page paper about his life. What you need to do is talk about something about his life and then prove it with your research. So if you said Winston Churchill was a great prime minister during the war years of World War II, okay, so let's say that's your thesis. Well, then the rest of your paper is going to support that thesis, and you're going to go down and tell me why Winston Churchill was a great leader during the war. What did he do? His policies or his military leadership or his dealing with international relations, let's say with the United States, and trying to get the United States to help out England during the war. So you want to come up with a list of ideas that through your research that shows that Winston Churchill was a good World War II leader. That's just an example. You can do it for whatever you want, but it's just an example of, you don't just tell me about something. You need to really analyze your research, evaluate what you have, and then that's going to support your thesis. Okay, so the paper will be completed in the font being Times New Roman, font size is 12, and then it will be double spaced. The student will write the research paper to conform to MLA using the MLA Handbook 9th edition. If you don't have this handbook, I suggest you get it. You need to make sure that your in-text citations are done properly. you will have a minimum of 10 sources. Half of those have to be books. So let's say you get 10 sources, 5 have to be actual books. The rest can be electronic sources. They can be electronic books, they can be journal articles, they can be websites. Make sure they're credible, but half of your sources need to be actual books. You have to go to the library, find them on your bookshelf, whatever it may be, but to get 5 books, and then the rest can be electronic. And the way that I look for this is in your Works Cited page. There's a specific way that you cite in the Works Cited page, a specific way you put that entry in for an actual book compared to an electronic source. And so then when you use your in-text citation, you have the author's last name and the page number. Then I can see in your Works Cited, here's the author and the book and the publisher and all of that. I can see all of that in the Works Cited. So make sure you do that. Regarding electronic sources, right here at the bottom of this page, regarding electronic sources, you may only use credible scholarly websites. You will not use Wikipedia or an individual's website or a blog. Your analysis of your research paper is very important. So Wikipedia is not good for research papers because that can be changed by people that can go in and change the definitions or the descriptions of the article. Now, Wikipedia is good for just getting general information. You can kind of get ideas or whatever from Wikipedia, but you cannot cite that in your paper. Another thing is personal websites or blogs. I say it every semester, and usually one student, I usually have about 50 or 60 students per semester. Usually I'll have one student, it'll be some kind of a blog. It'll be like blogspot.com or something. You cannot use a blog. That is just somebody's opinion out there, and that does not mean it's the truth. You don't want to use individual websites. If you do websites, usually look for .edu or .org, and that's a little bit more credible. It's an education website or a specific organization, maybe a nonprofit or something that does research for historical events. All students must use Grammarly to proof their paper before turning it in to the professor. If the professor feels this process has been omitted, the paper will be returned to you ungraded for correction and penalized 1 letter grade. So you need to make sure you use Grammarly. Grammarly is free through the Student Life Office. They'll set you up with an account, and you can run your paper through that. All you do is quickly, it's real quick, you upload the paper to Grammarly, you hit the check, it is going to give you a score, and let's say you write a 10-page paper and your score comes up as a 70, it'll give you all of the corrections that you need to do, and you can go through there and make the corrections. All you got to do is just click the button, what they want, their suggested fix. And I'm going to be talking here briefly about Grammarly in a moment when it comes to plagiarism, so we'll come back to Grammarly just in a moment. Okay, so these are the important dates that you have. And again, you need to take this seriously. You need to make sure you get all of your things turned in to me on time so I don't have to chase you down and I don't have to try to find out what's going on, why is it late, any of that. Just get this on your calendar and submit the things on time. So your topic is due Thursday, February 20th, 2025, which is the 5th week of class. And you can just have that done, turned into me, emailed to me by midnight is perfectly fine on February 20th. And I'll look at your topic, I'll shoot you an email back saying approved, or if it's not approved, then I'll give you some suggestions to narrow it down. Next is the thesis outline in 10 sources. These are due on Thursday, March 13th of 2025, and that is the 8th week of classes. Again, by midnight, you just turn in your thesis statement, and let you know, the thesis statement is that. It is a statement. It is not a question. Don't send me a question. Send me a statement, such as, like I said, Winston Churchill was an effective wartime prime minister. There's a thesis statement. Then your outline is going to be basically the structure of your paper. So, write up an outline and, introduction, your first point, maybe 2 subpoints, your second point, 2 subpoints, your third point, 2 subpoints, something like that. You can develop your own outline, and that's basically the structure of your paper. And then your 10 sources that you're going to have. Now, there's going to be tentative sources, but make sure you get 10 turned into me. Now, tentative sources, that's the sources that you might use. Maybe later on you'll find a better book, and so you scrap one book or you add a book or something. These are just 10 sources, just showing me that you've collected the sources, you've started looking at these books, that these are what you're probably going to use, and submit this to me in a Word document that is attached to the email that you're sending to me by Thursday, March 13th, 2025. Okay, so it just has your name on it, a thesis statement, an outline, 1, 2, 3, 4, A, B, C, D, whatever it is, an outline that you develop, and then 10 sources. And all of it has to be for those is the title of the book and the author. You don't have to give me some kind of bibliography or anything. If you want to, that's fine, but just 10 sources. And again, I'll respond to that email and say, hey, this looks great, or hey, you might want to tighten this outline point up, or hey, you only give me 2 sources, or whatever. But I'll just respond to that. And again, these 2 things here, the topic and then the thesis outline and 10 sources, that's just to kind of help you along, make sure you're not waiting to the last minute. I can give you some feedback on what you're doing, and none of that is graded. Okay, none of that is graded. You're not getting a grade for the topic, you're not getting a grade for the thesis or outline. It's just to help you along. But then here comes the big one, the paper due date. Thursday, April 17th, 2025 by 11:59 p.m. That's the 13th week of class. It's very important that you turn that in to me before that time expires, because once that time expires, then you will start getting a penalty for being late, which is 5 points every calendar day. So again, get this on your calendar, highlight it in yellow, put stars next to it, whatever you need to do to make sure that your paper is turned into me via email by Thursday, April 17th, 2025 by 11:59 p.m. All students, the research paper must be turned in electronically to the professor's email. So that's basically talking about you online, but also residential students. All papers are turned into me electronically to my email address. And it's very important that you send it in a Word document. That's the format, a Word document, not a PDF. And please do not send me electronic links, some kind of a Google Doc or anything like that. Do not send it. It messes up the formatting that you've worked so hard to make sure is all perfect. Just send it to me in a Word document, and I look at it. And what happens is I actually save it as a Word document, and I save it as a PDF to make sure the formatting is okay. And that is in your individual folder that I have for you on OneDrive underneath of my World History 2 class. So it'll be saved in your specific folder, and then that's where I do my grading, and I send you back the graded paper. So make sure you send it that way. I'm telling you, I get papers turned in with Google Doc or some sort of online form or whatever, and the citations are messed up. The works cited page is like bumped to the 10th page, and things get all messed up for some reason. The best thing to do is send it to me in a Word document attached to that email, and you'll be good to go. Now, as I had mentioned when I was talking about Grammarly, we're going to talk about that here again. We need to talk about plagiarism and AI. And I need to put this statement here in my syllabus because it is very important. For some reason, students think that AI can write a paper for them and that is okay. No, it is not okay. That is not your work. That is some artificial intelligence work. You need to make sure that you write your own paper. So you sit down at your computer and you write it in a Word document from page 1 to page end. Do not go to ChatGPT. Do not go to some other kind of AI platform. You need to make sure you do and write your own paper. So we'll talk about this here just for a second. It's very important. There have been students that have received zeros for their class, and also they would then have to go to a Mid-America Disciplinary Committee because they've submitted work that was not their own, but they put their name to it saying it is their own, which is deception. It's a serious thing. So plagiarism. Do not plagiarize. Do not take someone else's work and put it off as your own. Whatever you do, you need to make sure that you cite your paper in regards to quotes and where the information came from. I'll talk about that here in a second. Do not write the paper or portions of the paper with an AI generating platform. So important. Do not do that. Write an original paper. Okay, it's your work, so write it. This is your time to shine. Don't make AI shine. This is your time to shine on the research that you are doing. So you want to cite your paper, where the information comes from, and any direct quotes. So I'm going to put a little mark next to this. Cite where your information comes from, cite direct quotes, cite research information that is not even in direct quotes, show what source the information for the paragraph came from. What that means is if you write a 10-page paper and you put, let's say, 6 quotes in there, and all you do is cite those 6 quotes, what about all the other information in the paper? Where did that come from? What books did you use? So let's say you write, let's say the 3rd page of your paper has no quotes, no direct quotes. You don't have any direct quotes from an author in there. Where did that information on page 3 come from? You need to cite that. And all that is just after the paragraph, you put a citation, in-text citation, telling me what book it came from. And then that book or source is going to be in the works cited page at the end of your paper, so I can see, hey, this student interacted with this source in this paragraph on page 3. You're citing where you got the information, even though there's no direct quotes. Now, for direct quotes, you do need to cite every direct quote. If you say, let's just say, for example, my one book I have sitting in front of me here, written by Ian Knight. You could say, Knight states, comma, quote, and then you write out what he says, end quote, and then you have the parentheses for your in-text citation. So you are citing exactly what that author has said, and then in your citation, it's telling me what source you used, and it's going to be at the end of your paper what source you used. That is citing a direct quote. Okay, so make sure you cite where your information comes from. A plagiarized or AI-generated paper will earn an automatic F for the course. And you say, well, Dr. Sandiford, how do you know that this is plagiarized? Well, that's the beauty of Grammarly, because Grammarly wants to make sure that students are up to par on what they're doing also. Grammarly has an AI and plagiarism check. And so what happens is I run the paper through Grammarly to see your Grammarly score. Okay, so if you turn your paper in and your Grammarly score is a 65, that means you did not make any corrections in your paper. So that's going to go back to you to make the corrections, and if it's late, you get penalized. But I also put your paper through Grammarly's plagiarism and AI check. And what that does is that goes through your paper to find if anything is plagiarized or AI generated. And that's exactly what it does. And it's very good. And it comes out, and for the most part, with all the students that I've had, you will come out with a 0 to 4% AI generated paper. And what that means is it looks at your paper and sees that basically you did the corrections that Grammarly suggested. So if Grammarly suggests to change this sentence a certain way, and you click that and it changes your sentence for you, okay, that it found an error in your sentence, you had Grammarly correct it, and what happens is the logarithms that it checks for AI, it comes up that looks like it was AI fixed. Okay, that's no problem. Okay, that's your material that you have fixed. But let's say it comes out that it's 70% AI generated. That's not you fixing an error in a sentence. That is the paper has been written by AI. Okay, 70% is just way too much. Also, the plagiarism, it might come up with a higher score because let's say you have a lot of direct quotes in your paper, it's going to pick that up as being copied from some other source, so it's plagiarized. But if you cite that section, if you cite that direct quote, then you're okay because you cited it. You gave credit to where that quote came from. All right, so I spent the time describing this to you because it's very important that you do your own work. All right, I don't want anyone to fail because of any of this. This is just, it's not needed, and I don't want that to happen. But you see in the big, bold, and big font words right here, if the student does not submit a required research paper, they will receive an F for the course. Okay, this is your big project. This is your big paper. And so you need to make sure you turn this in. And the reason we do this is because students may be tempted to do well on the exams because the exams aren't really all that difficult. They're all multiple choice. Okay, and students do pretty well in the exams. And they get to like, oh, we're getting close to this paper time being due, and I have a 100 and I have a 99 or something like that. I'm just going to ace my exams and not do a paper at all, and with the final average, I'll be fine with a 75 or I'll be fine with a 71, and I'll pass the course without doing a paper. That's not the case. It is required. It's a requirement for this course. So if you don't turn a paper in, okay, you're going to receive an F for the course. So I hope there's no consternation about that, but that's what we do. Number 3, required exams, 60% of the final grade. There are 4 non-cumulative sectional exams at 50% each, which is going to be 60% of your grade. You see the dates there, exam 1, 2, 3, and then the final exam, February 18th, April 1st, April 22nd, May 13th. Now, these are online exams, and you are going to need to have a proctor for your exams, and the proctor form is in Canvas, and there's other instructions there. Make sure I have your proctor's name and also their email address. I need that so I can send them the password when you take your exam. Now, these exams are going to open the week of this date. So February 18th is a Tuesday, but your exam is going to open up Monday. It opens up on Mondays at 8 a.m. and will close on the Sunday following the date you see on this screen. So the following Sunday of February 18th is going to be February 23rd. So your exam is going to be open from February 17th to February 23rd. That gives you 1 week to make arrangements with your proctor, to meet up with your proctor with your computer, and then your proctor will put the password in, and then you will take the exam as your proctor monitors you taking the exam. Okay, so it'll be open for the entire week for you. If you're absent during an exam, you must make arrangements with the professor to make up the exam. That's actually for in-class students. Online students must have an exam proctor approved within the first 2 weeks of class. See Canvas for details. Here's the grading scale that you have. Okay, so you look at that. Class attendance, again, I've already said that. For online students, you must log into Canvas at least 3 times a week. Inclement weather, okay, for online students, it really doesn't matter. This is more for the students that are on campus. If our campus closes because of snow or ice, then it just gives the instructions there. Late work, I've already kind of touched on this, but just don't do it. Plan ahead and stay on schedule. Work turned in late will incur a deduction of 5 points for each calendar day that it is late. So the important thing here to understand is that it's the calendar day. You can email it to me on a Saturday. You can email it to me on a Sunday. The point is, don't be late. But let's say for some reason it is, don't think, oh, I have the weekend to finish my paper and I won't be penalized. No, the weekend counts. So make sure you are not late. The student is responsible for getting late papers into the instructor. No papers will be accepted after 20 days late, which is after May 7th, 2025. Obviously, 20 days late times 5, that's 100 points. You're going to get a 0 on the paper. So if it is past May 7th, you did not do a paper for me. All right, so you're going to get a 0 for the course. Don't do it. Get the paper turned in. Now, I've had some students that it goes past the due date, and so what I do is I send them an email saying, hey, you missed the paper due date, turn it in to me right away. And then a couple of students will turn it in. And then I still have, let's say, for example, 3 students that still don't have it in. I send them another email. Hey, you're getting these points off. Get your paper into me as soon as possible. Here's the thing. I've actually had students respond to me saying that they shouldn't get points off because they never saw the email. Well, again, that's not my responsibility that the student reads their email. It's the student's responsibility to read the email. So first off, make sure that it's turned in on time. But if for some reason you just had, just jammed up or whatever, and you turn it in 2 days late, okay, it's 10 points off. That's the way it is. Okay, class conduct. Again, this is more in regards to residential students, but if it's in a discussion forum or something, we don't have too much of that for World History 2, but students should exhibit a Christ-like attitude and demeanor at all times. If you do this one right here, then you'll be good to go. Okay, now class schedule and reading assignments. These are the dates that we meet in class on campus. Again, you're going to have the entire week to do this. So the week is going to open on a Monday, and then it remains open the rest of the semester. But it opens on a Monday. So make sure that you stay up on what you have to do. That's one of the things with online learning. Online is very convenient. You can do it when you have time. You can do it, let's say you work all week and you do it at night, or you do it on Saturdays or whatever. It's very convenient for you, and that's great. But that also requires a certain type of student. You need to be more of an independent kind of learner, or independent kind of student, where you can set a schedule, you get it in your calendar, you stick to that schedule, and all of that. So that way we don't, I mean, I hear it quite a bit. Students get a lot of classes and a lot of papers they have to write, and it's just jamming them up, and they're running out of time. I understand all of that. But you need to make sure you understand that when you go into these kind of classes, that there is a video, there is reading, there are assignments, there are maybe a forum, there are exams, and you have to get this stuff in calendars to stick to those time periods. These are hard dates and times. So if it says it's due on this date by this time, that's exactly when it's due. Okay, so let's look over what you're going to be learning about in World History 2. Okay, so January 21st is the syllabus overview. Okay, that's what you're looking at right now. This video is the syllabus overview. And then we have Session 1, Renaissance 1, we have Renaissance 2, Exploration 1, Exploration 2, Reformation 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So that's the Protestant Reformation. Then we have Monarchs 1 and Monarchs 2, taking us to exam number 1, which is, exam number 1 is sessions 1 through 9. So your exam is going to go to this topic there, 1 through 9. So you'll have a lesson on number 10, a session 10, session 11 on Monarchs 2, but those are not going to be on exam 1. That's going to be on exam 2. All right, and the reason is that you don't have exam 1 like right after a lesson that's going to be on that exam. It gives you time to be able to study up on it. Okay, so exam 1 is on February 18th, and then we go into Revolutions 1 and Revolutions 2. Research paper topic is due. Then we have Revolutions 3, 4, and 5. Then we have Nation Building 1, 2, and 3. And then we have Marxism and World War I Part 1, World War I Part 2, and World War I Part 3. And then we have our research paper and thesis outline due. Then we have spring break. Then we come back from spring break, and there's the post-First World War Part 1, and then there's the post-First World War Part 2, and these are called the interwar years between World War I and World War II. Then we have a library day. I'm giving you that so you can study for your exam, or you can work on your research paper. So that week, there's only 2 videos. Okay, exam number 2 is sessions 12 through 24, and then we get to session 25. So we have Rise of the Nazis Part 1, Rise of the Nazis Part 2, and then we come into our longest section of teaching, which is the Second World War, Part 1 and 2, Part 3, Part 4, Part 5. We have a video on the Holocaust, and we have a video on Part 6 of the Second World War. There's a lot of information these couple of weeks. Okay, so I didn't schedule any reading in here, but I did put in here work on your paper. So you got to do the videos, watch the videos, take your notes, and also work on your paper. Session 32 is the post-World War II war crimes trial, and then we have our research paper due April 17th by 11:59 p.m. So make sure you get that done on time. And then that's a Thursday, so then you Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. And then April 22nd is exam number 3, so you have some time there to study up on for your exam. Session 33, Cold War Part 1, Cold War Part 2, John F. Kennedy and the Cuban Missile Crisis, Vietnam War Part 1, Vietnam War Part 2, the Middle East, and then September 11th of 2001, we do have a final exam review. That is one thing I should note. All of your exams you will get a study guide for, so you can have an understanding of what will be narrowed down on that exam. You'll have a final exam review, which again for online is not too in-depth. This is more for in-class students where we do go through the study guide together. But for you can study it there on your own. And then finally we get to May 13th, final exam session 32 to 39 at 8 a.m. Again, yours is going to be open for the whole week, so don't worry about that. This is for residential students. Here's our statement that we have to put in the syllabus. The professor reserves the right to adjust the syllabus and or schedule. Then we get to the bibliography. These are just some helps for you, some books that if you, let's say you want to write on the First World War, John Keegan's First World War, it's like a staple book for any kind of research on the First World War. So you'd want to get that book. So these are just some helps for you if you're interested in this kind of stuff. Here's the rubric that we grade the papers by: presentation of ideas, organization and flow, style, MLA, and research, and then the mechanics. So each one of these areas gets a grade, and then you get an average for your grade. Now, presentation of ideas, it's like you have a good thesis statement, there's a good structure, you're explaining it well, you're presenting your research well. Most students do pretty well in that category. Again, organization flow, if you have a good outline, then your organization is good. If you are going from one topic to the next with a good transition sentence, okay, great. Style and content, this is the words that you use. Try not to type the way you speak, because usually we speak wrong, and then if you're typing along the way you speak, it's going to be incorrect. So style, don't use euphemisms, don't use like street speech or like phrases like hit the nail on the head or something like that. You don't want to use any of those things. You want to make sure that your sentences are clear. Also, you want to make sure that you do not use personal pronouns such as I, you, we, us. Don't put that in the papers. This is a research paper. Don't put me, the reader, into your paper like we've got to do this. Just don't use those kind of, I think we need to do. No, just present your research. You don't need anything else. Next is MLA. Again, I've already talked about this, but this is going to be your in-text citations, making sure they're formatted properly, making sure that your works cited is formatted properly. And then mechanics is going to be your grammar. This is going to be the spelling, the punctuation, the different grammar errors that might happen. And I do mark the papers heavily. I do grade them, but that doesn't mean I destroy your score because you missed some commas. Okay, so don't worry about that. But I do grade based on this rubric, and I do mark up the paper heavily. And again, that's more for writing improvement in the future, so you see what corrections you need. This past semester, I had a paper turned in, and none of the paragraphs were indented. You have to indent every paragraph one tab. You have to hit tab, and that indents the paragraph 0.5 of an inch. So you want to make sure that every paragraph is indented. Well, I got this paper and nothing was indented. So if I don't make any corrections, the student's going to think they're okay. So I went and I did a little arrow in for every single paragraph, and it showed that each paragraph had to be indented. So make sure you pay attention to those kind of corrections. This is for writing improvement. This is the syllabus signature page. I fill in your name, give assurance that I have read this syllabus in its entirety and understand its contents, including the completion of the following requirements. 1. Submission of a required reading grade by 5/14/25. 2. Submission of a 10-page required research paper by 4/17/25. If not submitted by this date, there will be a -5 points per deduction per calendar day. No paper will be accepted after 20 days late after May 7, 2025. 3. Completion of 4 required sectional exams as scheduled in the course schedule above. And then you need to sign it and date it. This way, we're all just on the up and up. You've received the syllabus, this is the requirement, and this is what you're basically saying you're going to do. So you have to go ahead and sign that and send it to me, that there's no confusion or question about what's required based on the syllabus. And then this is the reading signature page. This is a requirement for the syllabus, but again, like I said, you are going to respond at the end of the semester and send me an email with what percentage that you read. Okay, so that is it for this World History 2 syllabus overview. I'll see you in a second. All right, class, that's it for today and for this first just introductory video for the syllabus. Please make sure you get your proctor form filled out and signed by your proctor. And again, make sure that they have their email address either on the proctor form itself written on it, or you can be part of the email when you send me your proctor form that has been signed. And also make sure you send me an email stating that you received the syllabus and that you understand it. Any questions, you can also ask me those through the email. Okay, so next time we will begin our course with the first teaching lecture on session 1, which is Renaissance Part 1. Have a great day. I'll see you then.